We're going to continue Met Hashem. We're going to learn further Sichos Haran up to 41 Mem Aleph. Continuing. So it starts off. It says Leib Nishbar. Leib Nishbar is a broken heart. Fa'atzvis eine in echad klal. He explains that a broken heart and atzvis, which is atzvis is sadness, it's like depression. He says it's not the same thing at all. He explains Ki Leib Nishbar, because he says a broken heart. He believed this takes place in the person's heart. Continuing, however, atzvus, which is the sadness, depression, he says, hibu minat choil. This comes from the choil. The choil, I think it means the spleen in our body. So he's explaining that it looks like similar emotions if one doesn't pay attention to it, but sadness comes from the spleen, and a broken heart comes from from the heart. Continuing, he explains about atzvus shimat choil. He says that atzvus, which is the sadness, depression, which comes from the spleen, he explained this emotion, he sitra achra. This coming from the sitra achra, from the other side, from the side of unholiness. He explains that Hakadosh Baruch Hu, Soine Oisa, Hashem despises that. We'll see what that means. He explains, Aval Leib Nishbar, a broken heart, he chubav of Hashem Yitbarach. That's actually beloved by Hashem. He explains, Leib Nishbar Yokar Ma'oid Be'einav Yitzbarach, because he says, a broken heart is very, very precious to Hashem. Okay, let's continue. He explains, and it would be very good. He says that if a person would have this broken heart emotion the whole day, it would be very, very good. However, he explains, anushim ke'ergechem, he says, however, the nature of a human being is yicholim, that you could. If a person is going to stay in this broken heart state too long, you could fall into sadness, because it's a similar type of emotion if one doesn't, pay attention to it. So he says that it would be really very beloved by Hashem if a person the whole day could walk around with like a broken heart. However, it's not recommended because that could lead to sadness, depression, and that's not beloved by Hashem. Continuing, Al-Kain says, therefore, he says that's why a person needs to set aside a certain hour in his day, in their day, that in that hour they should try to have this broken hearts. So you go, you set aside a certain hour, and then you let yourself be broken-hearted. The Haini meaning that you should seclude yourself, the Shara Liba, the fun of his Baruch, and you should allow your heart to break before Hashem, as explained in a different place. Continuing, however, Avol Shar Kol Hayoim, the rest of the day, Avol Shar Kol Hayom Kilo, the rest of the day, Yerak B'Simcha. You have to try to be in the state of Simcha the rest of the day. Continuing, he says, and Reb Noson's recording this, he says, and Nachman would warn us many times about this concept. Continuing, which is that we should strengthen ourselves as much as we could, not to allow ourselves to be in this broken-hearted state. Rak only 1 hour during the day. Continuing, and sadness or depression, certainly not at all. Continuing, and he says, and his constant warning was, and the rest of the day should just be b'simcha. Okay, that's the end of 41. So a quick summary on it. So 200-something years ago, Nachman is giving us advice, which is very clear that it's needed for today's days very much, which is, he's explaining, as we're waking up, the soul, the neshama is waking up, and we feel Hashem's tsar, and just because it's becoming more and more open that um, Hashem is obviously being revealed in the world more and more, just with just how everything is playing out. So, as from Yidden, we can have a broken heart because Hashem's our Father, and we have our 2,000-year Gullus, and every 7 days is Shabbos. We remind ourselves, this is Me'ein Olam Haba, and but then we can open up the news, and all of a sudden it seems like where's Hashem? So we can have a broken heart, just as things progress. So the advice he's giving us is that there's a difference between Leiv Nishbar and Atzvus. Leiv Nishbar is very, very beloved by Hashem, and Atzvus, sadness, Hashem despises. So he says, obviously it would be very, very good if a person could be the whole day Leiv Nishbar, broken-hearted, you feel Hashem's pain. When is going to come the time when it's going to all be revealed, and all the nevuah is going to just come true, and all the nations are going to just want to, serve Hashem. So he's explaining that the advice is, don't do Leiv Nishbar a whole day, even though it's very easy to do it. Only do it 1 hour a day, because the danger of doing Leiv Nishbar too long is you can very easily fall into atzvus, sadness, depression, because it's a very similar emotion. And the advice is that you just have that time during the day, allow the emotions to come out, Leiv Nishbar, and the rest of the day to counter not falling into Leiv Nishbar, which can lead to atzvus, is to just try to be besimcha the whole day. Okay, we'll stop over here. It's Erev Shabbos, and I wish everyone a good Shabbos.